classes and received his peer and peer counselor certification training from the Washington Healthcare Authority. Brandon is also author of the book Come Back to Success, A Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow, which he's brought copies of today, so if you want to look at it. Thank you, Brandon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darby, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you so much to the Rotaract Club, Seattle City Rotaract Club. I'm just really excited because today we're going to be learning a lot about mental health and wellness. I'm going to go into depth a little bit about my own personal story and my journey and the challenges that I've been able to navigate towards and also like overcome, and learning how life is a constant learning journey. And so recognizing that there's a lot of challenges that we all are faced with in our own lives. My hope is that some of the takeaways that you can really gain from this speech tonight is really just to give you hope, inspiration, peace of mind, and passion for yourself to continue to follow your dreams and your goals, and really to become the best version of yourself. So, with that being said, let me give you a little bit more information about where I come from, my background, and why I'm so credible around talking specifically on the topic of mental health. So in my childhood, I grew up in Whatcom County, Bellingham, Washington, and I've just had a wonderful experience with, growing up in academics, excelling in my academics, graduating my high school with a 3.5 GPA, and just so many other challenges that I really took on by myself and really did it with a optimistic mindset. But I will say that there's a lot of other opportunities that really came my way because of just the wonderful, opportunity that my parents had and instilled into me in my life. Some of the things that were given to me as a kid, as time has progressed, I've recognized that not everything is given to us, and the things that we earn in this life are so much more remembered, cherished, and really appreciated. And so that's kind of where I've had to transition as I, graduated from high school, and I decided to take other risks in my own life. And so with that being said, I ended up studying abroad. I paid for the trip by myself, and I went to Barcelona, Spain. And so now this was kind of the start of where everything was starting to unwind itself in my life. So I paid for the trip. I had a wonderful experience studying abroad, but then after coming home, there was a lot of challenges that I really had to unpackage and unravel in my own life. It's like things were just kind of coming up out of my life for so many unknown reasons, and I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to navigate through these challenges, and instead I was one of those many people which might be able to relate to the feeling of suffering in silence. So on that topic, a statistic out there, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, over 50 million Americans are living with a mental illness. So if you think about it from that standpoint, we have the population of America is over 300 million. And so there's a large number of people that are struggling with their mental health and that are hopefully trying, or not even trying to help get wellness and managing their condition. So long story short, after I returned home from studying abroad and I was going through this road really with unknown, with uncertainty, and not doing well in my life, I ended up in the hospital for the first time, in the psychiatric hospital at the age of 19. And so this challenge really opened my eyes, because then I was given a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. And so the things that came with that are just, I was like, first of all, I was in denial, because I'm like, this isn't something that I want to have. There's so much stigma around mental health and having that condition. And so by being open about it is like very hard to do at times. But I've kind of learned to accept my diagnosis, accepting the real life experiences, and reflecting on the things that haven't gone well. So I kind of think about the perspective of what's helped me in my life. I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. And so because of that, I really take pride in how I live my life, because it has everything to do with your overall success, your overall freedom, your overall ability to be well and content in your own life. And so now that just kind of goes into specifically us as humans, but I'm talking about for those that are struggling with their mental health. There's a lot of components that I really feel are needed to be shared with other people, so that other people can learn for themselves how to navigate through a crisis, navigate through mental health journeys, and when they're going through mental health challenges, how they can, kind of stand back up again and recognize that they are capable of accomplishing more than they can really even imagine. Especially, it's really kind of with when you're in the heat of the moment and you feel like giving up. That's the time where you have to ask yourself, do you believe in yourself deep down in your heart that you have what it takes to be successful, to overcome this challenge and obstacle? And so with that being said, I'm going to outline 5 different components today that gives you more insight and feedback on what's helped me transform my life to continue to grow and finding more momentum, finding more purpose, and generating a lot of feedback from the people in my life that have helped me continue to stay on the path for success and wellness. So with that being said, those 5 steps are this. Step 1, develop self-awareness. Step 2, confide in someone you trust. Step 3, take charge of your life. Step 4, accept change. Step 5, be patient for changes to come. Let's start with step 1, develop self-awareness. This is probably the most important concept that I'll outline in today's speech topic, because of the fact that a lot of people, once they can master themselves, master their mindset and their subconscious brain versus their conscious brain, and finding the difference between how you are in different situations, different environments, that's so helpful for your overall growth and development and finding more of a awareness of yourself. So it's like, the typical saying, know thyself. That definitely goes into alignment with developing self-awareness. And so to give you more context in my own personal life and my journey, I would say in my senior year, for example, I was training a lot in soccer. I won the state championship my junior year, and I was always trying to grow and consistently putting myself out there, training when nobody else was training, asking me to train. And it's steps like that, and then after the hospitalizations when I was 19, and then finding so much uncertainty and lack of clarity in my life, it limited my ability to find what I was really doing in my life. To give you more context, it's like I was kind of just spinning my gears for so long in my life. I was just here's the positive thing though, to give it more light, is I was really good at doing a lot of things, and even though not a lot of those things really turned out to be where I was going in the long run with my life, what I can tell you is that's helped me gain more experience and personal growth, personal knowledge of myself and what I want, what makes me happy, and what gives me more. It's a reminder constantly is this helping me getting me to fulfill my purpose? So all of that encapsulates the whole concepts of developing self-awareness. Really asking yourself these hard questions when you're living your everyday life. Another thing that I really am confident to say is I wake up now after going through all these challenges in my life. I wake up with an attitude feeling you know what? I'm blessed for everything that God has given me in my life, all the opportunities that I've created, because nobody's handed me, the opportunity to write a book. I had to do that by myself. I had to do a lot of other concepts and just actually going out and living life to the max, to the fullest of my abilities, which is where I gained all of this, insight or wisdom, whatever you want to call it. But it's helped me really stay on pace and having more purpose in how I live my life. And so what I believe personally is that when more people when they're going through their mental health challenges, use that as a tool to fuel your purpose, driving your passion for developing yourself and finding more development and awareness in who you are as a person. Because I personally believe that a lot of people are more powerful than they might think in their own life right now. In fact, that's why the confidence aspect is really where it has to come out on a daily basis. And you have to practice that through actually doing tangible things, tangible actions and steps in your life that give you that experience. Because trust me, getting experience from another person here and there is not going to be as helpful as when you are actually going through homelessness, when you're going through a hospitalization, self-help mental health treatment program, all those things which I've gone through. So that's developing self-awareness, step 1. Step 2, confide in someone you trust. A lot of things that I'm going to say this, a lot of people can avoid their challenges or crisis intervention if we are open with another person, with another human being that we can trust, that really gives us the right feedback and the support and the care and also tenders to our emotions as well. Because boy, our emotions are so powerful in our own lives. And so when I think about from what the way I've lived my life is very much, trying to be kind towards others, trying to be open-minded and continuing to grow and having an optimistic mindset. But when you've allowed yourself to be vulnerable with another person you trust in your life, it can save lives. It can change another person's life. It can change the direction of what they're doing in their life to doing something that's more fruitful as well as happiness and gives them fulfillment in their own life. So definitely keeping that in mind and how you've confided in someone you've trusted. I'll get more personal now on that topic with confiding in someone you trust. When I returned home from studying abroad, I was lost, as I mentioned. I was very confused with what I was doing with my life. I was just spinning my wheels is what it seemed like, living at home with my parents in Bellingham. But I had an innate passion to succeed and to build success and happiness and growth. But the problem was I didn't know how to confide in someone I trusted. So I was working with a therapist at the time in Bellingham, and she was asking me a lot of insightful questions, trying to thought-provoke me and help me to unpackage my emotions. But the problem was that I wasn't willing to open up. And as a result, it's just kind of how my story has led me. I ended up in the hospital, and a lot of challenges came from after that because, I just was not willing to accept radically acceptance of your diagnosis and accepting what's prevalent and ongoing in my life that I needed to be responsible for and hold myself to a high level of accountability. So that's confiding in someone you trust. Step 3, take charge of your life. So this will give you more more background info of what I've successfully been able to do now, because I know we've all just met, but the fact is, in my taking charge of my life and what that's looked like for me is different than for you and every single person in this room. So accepting that you're different and that you have a different story, you have a different path than me, but then allowing yourself to take ownership of your own life, of your own accountability, and recognizing the responsibility that it takes to build success, to build wealth, to build happiness, things that really matter to you personally and your own purpose. Those are the things that really I feel like I personally learned how to emulate and instill into my own mindset and then into my own life and my own daily habits. So now I'm gonna go more into detail. With about 4 years ago or so, I was getting out of a hospitalization, and I was just building momentum because I'm like, you know what? I'm getting back to work again, working at Fred Meyer, and now I'm just, working consistently and trying to find my own lane is what I'm trying to say. And so after I decided to switch careers, and I did sales and automotive sales. And so I did this for probably a total of 4 or 5 months. I moved to Seattle, and then I moved to Southern California. And I lived in Long Beach for over 2 years, and that was another experience that was memorable, that was filled with, some challenges that I was not going to experience when I'm here in Washington or let alone in Bellingham. And so that's kind of where I've been able to see the whole spectrum of life, because I've gone through these challenges that were, horrendously difficult, but I was able to number one, stay sane, remain stable, remain in contact with myself and my own, life, because of the persistence that I have in my life. The challenges that I've gone through are not easy feat, and I bet you all of you can really relate to different challenges and circumstances that have made you become a better person or just helped you build your own character. So recognizing that you have your own gifts and you have your own story, but taking ownership of your own actions and your own responsibilities of your life makes you appreciate more of what you have. And that's kind of where I feel like I've recognized everything that's happened in my life, and it's happened to me for a reason. And I don't have regrets about what's happened to me in my past, because the things that I've done, some things have been bad, some things have been good, but as long as I'm continuing to have an open mind and staying optimistic and reminding myself that this is my life, and I'm the one that's gonna be able to go this way or this way, and I'm choosing to go this way because I want to be successful and be a happier and more unique individual. And I feel like every single person is authentic and original in their own way if they allow themselves to show up wholeheartedly. Which is very hard to do. Being vulnerable, showing your true colors, those are the things that you can do to really find your passion and purpose. And so getting broken down many times in my life, where I was homeless about a year ago, and I was returning home from studying from being in Southern California, and I didn't have the support that I was hoping to have. And so I ended up being, homeless, living in hotels for like a couple of weeks. And then I ended up, in the hospital for like a month. And then getting out of that hospital, I guarantee you, about a month and a half later, I was on stage again, because I'm like, I'm not going to just let this stop me from pursuing my biggest dream, which is to help inspire people with mental health. And then guess what? 3 people showed up. But that's part of life. It's like, as long as I showed up and I felt like I did my best, that's all that matters. So I'm giving you this all concept, more like perspective in my life, so that you can understand how, I might show up wholeheartedly and great, but it hasn't been easy. Things have, these things that I've created haven't just been handed to me suddenly, because it's taken me years to get to this point. So we're going to go further on with that. But starting the last couple of points I'll bring up, step 4, accept change. So I was in a halfway house in 2017, and for those of you that don't know what a halfway house is, it's like a place where a lot of people who are mentally ill go and live. I was 20 years old, getting out of a hospitalization and then seeing family for a weekend and then just getting thrown into this environment was very traumatizing for me. And I remember literally like walking around I'm giving you perspective from so you can see where I was at to now where I've, arisen from the ground, is what I'm trying to say. And so, I remember crying my eyes out because nobody could like change what was going on, and I had to accept change. I had to accept my reality of what I was facing in my life. And all the tears, that I shed in that place, it's made me stronger, it's made me who I am. And so that's kind of why, being honest with myself about how did I accept the reality of this hardship in my life. So my challenge to you is, if you might be going through something right now or have gone through something, how do you accept the reality and continue to be an optimistic person, open-minded, and continue to persevere and persist through the struggle, through the pain? And then the last step is step 5. Be patient for changes to come. So this gives you more context on with like just a lot of, 2021, I got up on stage for the first time ever, and I was working as a janitor at Thunder Studios in Long Beach, California. And so I did this because I wanted to, I had ambitions to be a professional speaker. I was going to be an author and things like that. And so, but the thing that really came out of that was just being patient for changes to come, and recognizing just recognizing more of what has, to build success and to build a massive follower base or things like that is really to be an influential person. I wanted to do that years ago, and here we are in 2023, and I'm still talking to different people, different audiences, and having wonderful, memorable experiences and conversations with people. But my challenge is to really remind yourself and to really recognize that if you want to build success, which you totally can, and build a massive following or just things like that are important to you, because I want to be able to impact a lot of lives, I had to be patient. And I had to ask myself, you know what? Even though I'm going through this challenge and uncertainty in my life right now, how can I continue to grow, and how can I continue to have faith in myself and have faith in the process, in where I'm at right now, but then also believing that I could be more successful and wildly more influential and impactful in the long run. Because that's what I'm saying, is like, life is, play the long run game. You don't need to have it all figured out by 25 or 27. Like, life is constantly evolving and changing. And so if we really allow ourselves to be patient with ourselves and tender towards ourselves and ask us honest questions to give us relevant feedback, that's where we'll find growth and compassion. So in recap of the 5 steps that I talked about today, starting with step 1, develop self-awareness. Step 2, confide in someone you trust. Step 3, take charge of your life. Step 4, accept change. Step 5, be patient for changes to come. Thank you. We can open it up for Q&A now if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, was there a point where it all kind of clicked for you?
The point where it started to click was when I was able to radically accept my diagnosis, because having something like bipolar disorder is really, it's something that really I have to manage constantly. But the positive thing is that it's possible, and everybody who has a mental illness can still be happy and live a successful life. And so kind of like being that success story and being that model to others is really encouraging. And so that's why I feel like I have, I was talking to another speaker, and she's like, babe, maybe you should just have set the bar higher than everybody else, because I have something that I have to manage, and what that does is it helps me be even more accountable for my life and for my success. Yeah.
How long did it take you to come up with the 5 steps, and how many drafts did you have before you settled on the final 5 that you presented today?
With the 5, it didn't take me that long, because I think that all those steps are so unique in their own way, and I have so much real life experience that actually fits into those ideas, and some of those came from my book, Come Back to Success, as well.
And then I have one more question. So you shared the statistic of 50 million Americans living with mental illness. Is that diagnosed or estimated?
Good question. So that's according to the National Institute of Mental Health, and so that's not including the undiagnosed people in America as well as in the world, which, you know, if you think about it from that standpoint, there's a lot of people, I would say in the millions, that are going through some type of challenge as well.
I mean, even, yeah, mine went to 300 million, 50 out of 300. Do you know how that compares with countries like Spain? You said a lot of your journey started after you studied abroad. Percentage of mental illness.
I don't know much about the mental health statistics with like Spanish-speaking countries or, you know, anywhere else around the world besides America, because that's kind of the research that I conducted with that statistic.
Thank you.
I guess I have a question. So, coming from more of, I guess, a different perspective, I told you earlier, like, I have ADHD, and I feel like one of the I was late diagnosed, though. I was diagnosed at, like, 23, and so I went, like, all throughout college, all throughout school, having to figure out ways to deal with it without knowing I was dealing with it. And now that I've realized that I have it and somewhat medicate it, I feel like my biggest struggle is finding tools that work for me specifically. There's bunches of tools out there, bunches of them, but like I sometimes just feel like even those don't really work for me. And so did you run into situations like that when working through your diagnosis, and how did you get past it, or are you still struggling, I guess?
Okay. I mean, I firmly believe that it's an ongoing thing, and recognizing that there's like, you know, everybody's in their journey alone, but recognizing that you're not alone. And by asking for the right people to have support in your life, you know, even like with the mental health professionals, like I see a therapist and I do take medications. That helps me because I feel like I want to continue to be happy and sustainable, but it might not be for everybody. And so being honest with yourself about these hard questions, about specific ideas or things that affect that individual, my encouragement really would be to just asking yourself hard questions so that you can find the decisions for yourself. Because that's what I've done, is like I've been able to like work through what has helped and what's not helped, and I become more stronger and more sustainable through the time by making wise decisions as well, and also asking for help. Because I'm very successful, I believe, but I also would say that there's times that I want to have support, and it's because I'm human. So
what are some examples of those hard questions that you ask yourself?
Some of the hard questions that I ask myself, what do you mean by that?
Well, you said like to like ask yourself hard questions as you're working through like different things you're trying to get past, like issues and situations. Like what, like I don't know, if you had an example of like a hard question like you had to ask yourself, or just like a general one that's a good one to start with, I guess. I guess I didn't understand what you meant by hard questions.
Oh, like for example, looking inwardly.
Okay.
Really like asking yourself, does this matter for me if I do this or if I do that? Because we all have 24 hours in a day, and recognizing that life is short. So am I going to go ahead and start doing, studying for a career path that's helpful and beneficial for what I want to do and what makes me happy? Or am I going to, just do an entrepreneurial journey that's more different than that? And so asking yourself hard questions, what makes you happy and what makes you feel sustainable, and those really that's where it all boils down to.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Awesome. We can give some time to do the...
Yeah. We can do the drawing in a moment, and then I'll give out a free signed copy of my book. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.